Welcome back to the garage, everybody. So you can tell by my breath, it's chilly out. 460 slightly more together. Let's get you in. So, as you can tell, carb's on, that's on, battery's in, replace the ground cable, replace the positive cable. Now, here's a fun fact for everybody. If you've been tuning into this, and if you were trying to watch me last time, spray carb cleaner in it, nothing would happen, nothing would happen, nothing would happen. Now, if anybody was smarter than me, a lot of people are, you might have realized this. Non-flammable. No inflammable. So, I went out and got myself some actual stuff, non-chlorinated, of course, because you got to be kind of safe when you're doing silly things. And now I got something to show you guys. Finally, a good update. Pliers are in my back pocket. You know what? Let's get crazy. So anybody else who's also wondering, man, why won't that thing start from inside the truck? Well, it's a manual, and there's things that I forget, such as you got to push in the clutch. She idles a little high yet. There's still definitely a lot of tuning that needs done. However, that would at least mean in this video I can start putting things together, which is the most exciting part. I'd love to hear it run some more, but there's a lot of vacuum leaks and I'm not sure how lean it is going to be running. So for that part of that alone, I think that it's in my best interest to not continue to run it. So I really need to get the exhaust on. This thing's loud, which it's a 460 straight out of the headers. Not a crazy surprise there. But also some other tips, because I learned I was way out of timing. So anyone else does this, yet again, people smarter than me figured this out. Your cap literally has a number 1 on it. Listen to the number 1. I didn't see it when I was doing everything, so timing was off. Not only a lot with the distributor, but also with the damn plug wires. So, yeah, let's try to button this engine up a little bit so we can run her a little longer. Alrighty, so we're back out here again at the truck. I was a little bit excited when I made the last video or segment of this, whatever you want to call it, when I just got it started and I said, oh, I'll start buttoning things up. That's actually not going to happen. When I went inside and took a shower and everything, I realized that that's not the smart thing to do. Currently, the smart thing to do would actually be try to get my fuel system to work. I realized after the fact that I never cleaned that carb. Should replace the gaskets that were on it, because who knows how old those are. Plenty of vacuum leaks here. Don't worry, battery's not hooked up, but it's on the charger. Because I've been cranking this thing, obviously, trying to figure stuff out. But anywho, with all that being said, the smart thing to do would not be doing that. Now, one thing I did want to look into, why is there trans fluid on my floor? That's a different times issue, I guess. The inertia switch for this thing is right there. The little white piece on top needs to be pushed down for that to work. So, assuming that the inertia switch is good, I did mess with the plug. It wasn't plugged in all the way, so it could be something as simple as that. But if it's not, then I need to try to figure out where in the world the fuel pump relay for this thing is, because I'm not saying one or either of these pumps in this truck are good, but I'm saying that to me it seems a little bit fishy that both pumps would both be out. Not saying it's impossible, but I feel like it'd be highly unlikely. So I'm assuming there's a relay somewhere on here, so I think we're going to try to find that. And once we get fuel to the engine, then I think we'll be a little bit more worried about buttoning things up. Once we get the carb I'm not going to rebuild it. I don't know enough about these carburetors to do that. But at least cleaned up, get all the orifices blown out, things such as that. Then yet again, I'd feel more comfortable with trying to button things up. But I think until I have this engine to where it can sit there and actually run, even if it's not running great, I think then I'll feel a lot more comfortable about buttoning everything up, knowing that, hey, whenever I get this thing kind of put together, it should be ready to be tuned correctly. I'll be the first one to say I'm not perfect when it comes to tuning a carburetor. That's one of the things I hope to learn from doing this truck build in itself. And timing light, that's not anything too crazy there. I just have to get one. I don't own one, but I've done it in the past a couple times. But it'll still will definitely take some refreshing and learning to do that. So with that being said, now we're actually going to get into it. Well, not now, but now for you guys. So, if anybody's wondering, I think that's ignition and pump relay. I'm pretty sure the green one, I believe, is ignition. The gray one, I believe, is fuel pumps. Now, I've taken these two solenoids and I swapped them. Still no luck. So I know the right thing to do would be make sure you have power, trace everything around, make sure they're clicking. I'm not quite there yet. Seeing I'm not 100% sure how the inertia switch works. If it's bad, I'm not for sure if it would allow power to come to the relays or not. And also, somebody I think has definitely messed with these two before, because as you can tell, there's zip ties on them, and they were zip tied into their little compartment here. Also, there's grease on the terminals inside of here, and for some reason there's like electric tape around all these. So I'm assuming someone was testing for power and things of that such and just never had any success. Maybe that's the whole reason this truck was parked. Maybe some people was just putting stuff down the intake and wiped the cylinder walls. I don't really know what happened to the other engine exactly. I still am not worried about that because the current one doesn't run yet. So I think my next plan of action here to do more diagnosis with this is going to be to, I think I can unplug the inertia switch down here. And let's start. My theory is I don't know if it's technically like an open or a closed switch, I guess. So I don't know if the wires need to be connected to bypass it or disconnected to bypass it, essentially. So that's why my plan now, I think, is to disconnect it from the actual switch it's on, see if anything happens. If it doesn't, then I'll take a jumper wire, jump from, each side of the plug-in that it has, to essentially bypass that altogether. That's assuming that it's like a... Easiest way to look at this, in my point of view, would be like a lawnmower seat switch, to where when the button's depressed, it gives it power. When it's not depressed, it doesn't. It's kind of what I think about with an engaged or disengaged switch there, which is similar because I have to push it down to reset it. Now, I've held it down all the way and had no luck there while turning the key on after switching the relays as well, and nothing has changed. Now, I'm not saying that both the relays could have went bad. I don't know. But it's just one of those things where I find it really weird that there's a chance that two relays are bad or potentially two fuel pumps are bad to where nothing is happening. That's kind of where I'm at with this. So once I can confirm that the inertia switch is not stopping anything from happening, then I can go ahead and test voltage in my own eyes at the relays where they come in. And if I need to, I can even put a jumper in there and just put it power to the pumps. Theoretically, I think that should work. And if that does not work out, then I will probably start looking into the switch itself for the tank selector switch. But like I said, once I get the inertia switch bypassed, I think that could potentially open up different avenues to see what exactly is going on. However, I can also make sure once I have the inertia switch unplugged that there is power going to the switch, and then I can make sure that power is going through the switch. Technically, I could probably do that without unplugging it, but I just like to take one piece of the puzzle out of the equation to potentially diagnose this correctly to ensure that I'm not going to just load up the parts cannon and fire away. So, with all that being said, I'm probably going to be in different clothes next time you see me, because I'm just kind of doing this. It's almost Thanksgiving. So whenever you see this video, that's when this has been going on since. And family's going to come over. I'm not going to be working on this weekend like I normally do. So that's kind of where we're at. Is I'm just going to kind of slowly try things whenever I have time. And I know once I get power through the inertia switch and then through the relay, and then if I don't have it at the pump, then I'll know that's exactly where my issue is, instead of just jumping straight to the pump. I'd like to get rid of as many potential factors that could be not giving them power from before jumping there. I mean, I could go there right now, test it, see there is power or not power. If there is power, pump's definitely bad. And I might be doing too many steps and overcomplicating the wheel in order to get there. However, like I said, I do want this truck to be a reliable mode of transportation. Probably not going to drive it across country anytime soon. But I would like to know at least that everything that I'm messing with is correct prior to me trying to take it anywhere. I don't want to get a mile down the road and then have it break down, and then I have to call somebody and be like, hey. If you've ever seen the phone call that happens in The Hangover, that's the saying I'm thinking right now. So we'll get back to her. So here's a little bit of what I'm working with. Got this grounded, and I can try every port here. Really nothing there, nothing there, nothing there. There's 9 volts. I'm assuming, well, now it's down to 8, but it was up to like 9.8 a minute ago. That one should be my trigger wire, because I can never remember what exactly solenoids need, but they need 9 something voltage to trigger. But what we did see there, though, is there's no 12 volt supply running to this. Now, if I remember right, there should be a 12 volt, the 9 volt, a ground, and a ground for whatever we're working with, and it triggers also as well. So, or the relay lets the 12 pass through it. I can't remember exactly are, but this is a 2, 4, 5 pin, which, as we can see, we have 9 volts. So we have the trigger side of it, but I don't have the 12 volts, so I don't have power going to the relay, which is why I said I wanted to bypass the inertia switch inside. So I figured I'd show that a little bit so that somebody's not wondering, like, well, why are you going straight to the inertia switch? This is my thought process. So we'll see what happens now once I bypass that. All right, so I put a jumper wire in where the inertia switch is. I think I'm going to make sure I have a ground first. I do there. Jam that guy back in where it was. And I keep dropping this thing, so I don't remember which one's supposed to be ground, but I think it might be this guy. Okay, so we have ground. Now let's go back and check some voltages here. And I think this was the one that had 9. One's up 10. I have the battery charger on since I have the key on, but she's up around 10 now. And this one, so theoretically, should have power to the relay. So if I plug this in and it brings power to the fuel pumps, I'm going to have to run in and shut off the key, or else I'm going to make a huge mess in my garage. Which, if that happens, I won't be happy, but I won't be like super mad. I don't hear a fuel pump running. Let's try switching on and see what happens. Okay, so there's a positive here. I'm not sure if you guys could hear that. When I was flipping the key off and on, I could hear something over here clicking. Now the downside is I have to make sure that it wasn't just one of these clicking, because, well, clearly I need both. I think, if I remember right, the green ones I think are ignition. I could definitely be wrong there. But if things are clicking, at least something is happening in here. Hopefully it's that and not something else in the truck. But yeah, so that's already a start on the right foot there, because that proves that the inertia switch is most likely bad. And yeah, gives me something to start with. What I should probably do now is while the key's on and the battery charger's on, I should just go check power at the fuel pump switch. I might. All right, so we're back in the truck. Did end up getting under there, checking for power to the pump. Had 12 volts actually, which I was kind of surprised about. Which means at least the front tank is bad. The pump is. Which this thing sat for about 5 years. So I was sitting there thinking, it wouldn't be crazy if the other pump also went bad with all the junk sitting in there, and who knows how much fuel is in it and how much condensation and stuff could have got drawn in there and potentially destroyed the other pump as well. But at least I do know now the inertia switch is bad, which means if I go switching out pumps, it's not going to... the inertia switch will no longer be hindering me in doing that, assuming I get a new one. I don't want to bypass that forever because obviously it is there for a pretty good safety reason. And it'd be nice to keep it for that one reason. But yeah, so luckily since I'm not putting a video out every week right now, assuming this isn't the first one of the year, which I doubt, I can go ahead and order a new pump, drop this tank, see what the tank looks like prior to ordering a new tank. Because, like I said, this is kind of a budget thing to get it going, and I don't really want to burn a lot of money on a tank when this one looks from the outside okay. If I drop it down and it's scaly and rust filled, then I'll take it from there. But yeah, let's see what happens. Alrighty, so we're bottom side of the truck right now. I'm gonna go ahead and drop this fuel tank, the front one obviously. If anybody's wondering how you check power on one of these, what I did at least, I just reached up in here. That arm doesn't really work. Pop that guy out, there's your 3 pins. So I'm going to do fuel lines. I already undid the filler neck because, if I remember, there should be a plastic-ish looking hose that runs from the whole way up into the tank to let air out when you're filling up. Should be pretty simple. I'm going to disconnect these 2 hoses here, even though you can also up there. I'm going to do it here, and this is also why I grabbed myself a paint marker. So then, whenever I go back together, I have a reference point to which hose goes where. You can never make anything too obvious for yourself. By the time you think that's good enough, it's not. Also, I said earlier, I wonder why there's trans fluid under here. Well, if anybody remembers, that's part of what I soaked the old engine down with. And, well, I think it's, once the truck started, it blew everything back, and now it's slowly coming onto my floor. So that's really cool. So, get these 2 undone, and then get a nut out, pop those lines off, pop the lines off up above. Theoretically, if I wanted to, I could just cut this, but I'm not about to. Took the fuel cap off for possibly the first time, and it reeked of old gas, so that's good. And I can see what the shape of this tank is on the inside. She sounds pretty dry. So, and as long as the inside of this tank can be cleaned out, I'll reuse it. If it can't, then I'm going to be unhappy because I'll have to buy another tank. But anyways, I digress. Let's set you guys up and let's get to this. Safety squints engaged. tank's out. And I was 100% wrong about it being empty. This thing has 19 gallons of fuel on it, which means she doesn't leak. Means that, other than maybe right there, she should be pretty clean inside. Other than some old gunk, but that I think will be a tomorrow problem. Day or two maybe. Hard telling yet. So I got to find a way to get rid of this gas like you're supposed to. Drug it out here mainly so if it does spill, it's not going to hurt anything bad, won't kill the yard. I don't want it in the garage with all the fumes coming out of it with the dogs all day tomorrow. So yeah, that was a lot more eventful than I had expected. I planned on He-Man this thing out of here until I learned she's full. So let's just wait till tomorrow or whatever when I get this stuff done.
Alright, it's a little bit hard to see. New fuel pump is hooked on, I believe. It's actually a really, really tight fit right now for some reason. So, and I know just before I do anything, you're technically not supposed to run your fuel pump dry because that is what burns it up, because the fuel that goes into it technically lubricates the pump. But prior to me putting anything up there like the fuel tank, I want to see, does it turn on for a second? About 95% sure I just heard that thing clicking. Let's set you guys down here and see if we can hear anything better than that buzzer. I can't really. Don't have a great place to set you. Bit of an issue. Oops. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys could hear that or not. And you just saw. However, we're gonna sit back in the truck for a minute. Y'all, my hair's gone now too. She gone. But we need parts. I don't feel like waiting at least another week to get this done. So I have a wedding coming up. So probably gonna put this video out as it is now. Really wish I could say this thing would be running and going next video, but yet again, the truck was parked for a reason. We got to figure out what happened to it and why exactly she sat. Big part of the equation, the engine's already in there. Now, the fuel tank I pulled out of it. It's not unusable. However, there are enough rust flakes and chunks and stuff like that that I dealt with while ripping while getting the fuel out of it. And it's just like a new tank is under $100. So by my logic and reasoning, I could spend $50 some in product to potentially clean this tank out, and hopefully that cleans it out, as well as I'd be using a power washer, probably at a car wash, so I'd pay for that as well, because it's been freezing most days this week. And basically it's not, I just don't think it's a good idea to spend $50 to $80 on supplies to potentially clean out a tank that, not to mention the apple cider vinegar could potentially eat through a spot where there maybe would have been a pinhole otherwise. So just looking at it from that standpoint, not to mention the hours of labor that I'd put into it that I'd never really gained from. Looking at things in that retrospect, I can't see it being a good idea to fix the old tank. I really wish I could just give it to somebody who needs a tank and doesn't have the money for a new one. Like I said, it's like $100-ish, but still, I understand for some people every penny really does count, and their time isn't as much of a thing they value because they have more to spend towards these things. However, life's been super busy for me. As you can tell, this truck was supposed to be done a couple months ago. Done. And we just now have a fuel pump in it that works. So, yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and order a new tank. So hopefully in the next video, you guys will actually be able to see me wrapping up the fuel system. This video is all over the place because I did not expect it to run in the first 2 minutes of this video and then try to go somewhere else with it. And I didn't expect the fuel tank to be completely full. That was a fun, terrible surprise. But is what it is. She's out, she gone, she ain't come back. So if you want to see more of this truck, people always say what to do, but you already know. So also, I have been gaining subscribers. That's pretty neat in my opinion. So thanks to everybody that is there. So yeah, yet again, sorry this video was just a jumbled mess of whatever. But thanks for watching.